The moment Aiden saw Kieran fall off the railing of the Santa Cruz pier, he had two thoughts. First, that guy is definitely not built for acrobatics. Second, crap, I think I just watched someone audition for the fastest way to meet the ocean floor. He didn't think. He just ran. Aiden dove into the water as if the ocean were the only home he'd ever known. In a way, it was. He'd grown up on these waves, stitching himself back together with salt water every time life tried to break him apart. But that morning, something felt different. This wasn't fixing his own wounds. This was instinctively protecting a stranger. Kieran resurfaced with a gasp, sputtering and blinking through cold Pacific spray. Aiden reached him within seconds, sliding an arm around his chest. "You okay?" Aiden asked, breath uneven. "I'm reconsidering every decision that led me to standing on a slippery railing," Kieran coughed. Aiden couldn't help laughing, his voice shaking with relief. "Good. You're conscious enough to be sarcastic." When they climbed back onto the pier, drenched and shivering, people clapped. Kieran looked embarrassed. Aiden looked like he wanted to disappear into a puddle. But neither backed away. That's how it began. Kieran was in California only for a photography assignment, a month-long project capturing the essence of ocean towns. Aiden was a local surfer whose life felt stuck between tides, pushing him forward and dragging him back in turns. They should have parted ways after exchanging thanks and awkward smiles. Instead, Kieran insisted on buying him coffee as a thank you. Aiden refused twice. Kieran insisted harder. Aiden finally caved. They sat in a small cafe overlooking the sea. Kieran's camera rested on the table, still dripping. Aiden wore a hoodie that didn't belong to him, borrowed from the cafe's lost and found. They were both freezing. "So you really jumped without thinking?" Kieran asked, studying him. Aiden shrugged. "Guess my brain stayed in bed this morning." Kieran's laugh was warm, the kind that wrapped around Aiden without permission. For a moment, Aiden forgot the weight of everything he was trying to outrun. His father's illness, the breakup that had left him hollow, the endless pressure to be the one who held everyone together. And Kieran forgot the loneliness of constantly moving from place to place, documenting life without feeling like he belonged anywhere inside it. Their eyes met across the table. Something shifted, something small but electric. Maybe it would have ended as a fleeting spark. But the next morning, Kieran showed up on the pier again. And the morning after that. And again, until it became a routine neither admitted they were waiting for. Aiden taught him the rhythm of the waves. Kieran taught him the rhythm of noticing the world again. One afternoon, as they walked along the shore, Kieran said, "You look like someone who knows how to run straight into danger but avoids anything that feels safe." Aiden froze. "I don't know what you mean." "I think you do." The silence between them stretched, pushed by wind and broken waves. Kieran didn't know Aiden's past, not really. He didn't know about the ex who shattered him, or the promises Aiden was tired of making, or the way he swallowed guilt like seawater. But somehow, Kieran saw straight through him anyway. Aiden tried to laugh it off. "You don't even know me." "Maybe not yet," Kieran said softly. "But I want to." And that was the problem. In the evenings, they'd sit on the pier, talking about things that shouldn't have felt so easy to share. Kieran spoke about his constant travel, the pressure to make his art meaningful, and the loneliness of temporary homes. Aiden spoke about his father's fading strength, about trying to be enough for everyone, and the quiet terror of losing another person he cared about. The more they opened up, the more the air between them charged with something delicate and dangerous. Until one night, Aiden didn't show up. Kieran waited. 10 minutes. 30. Nearly an hour. The sky dimmed into deep blue, waves growing restless beneath the wooden planks. He finally found Aiden sitting alone on the sand far from the pier, knees drawn to his chest. "Hey," Kieran said gently, joining him. "You okay?" Aiden's voice was raw. "My dad's at the hospital tonight. They said he might not make it through. I didn't want you to see me like this. But I came anyway," Kieran replied. "You don't get to push me away just because you're hurting." Aiden swallowed hard. "I don't know how to let people stay." "Then let me teach you." The wind stopped. The world held its breath. For the first time, Aiden leaned into someone instead of pretending he didn't need to. And that was when everything began to change. Kieran stayed with Aiden until long after the tide crept higher, pushing gentle waves up the shore as if encouraging Aiden to breathe again. Neither of them spoke for a while. They didn't need to. The silence felt like a fragile bridge, built slowly between two people who had spent too long holding their pain alone. When they finally stood to leave, Kieran placed a steady hand on Aiden's back. It was a small gesture, but it grounded him. For the first time in months, Aiden didn't feel like he was about to break apart with the next strong wave. But the night didn't end with comfort. The next day brought a storm. Aiden didn't answer his phone, didn't show up at the pier, didn't respond to Kieran's messages. At first, Kieran thought he needed space. But as the hours passed, dread twisted into something sharp. He grabbed his jacket and rushed to the small house Aiden shared with his father. He found Aiden outside, sitting on the porch beneath an overcast sky, hands buried in his hair. He looked up when Kieran called his name, and Kieran's breath caught. Aiden looked like he hadn't slept, like he was unraveling. "He's gone," Aiden whispered, voice cracking. "My dad's gone." Kieran sank down beside him, and Aiden collapsed into him as if gravity had been waiting for that exact moment to pull him down. Kieran held him through every shuddering breath, every broken whisper. It wasn't heroic or dramatic. It was simply human, real, necessary. Days passed in a blur of condolences, funeral arrangements, and long, aching silences. Aiden drifted through it like a ghost, barely tethered to the world. And Kieran stayed, quietly, unshakably. He made sure Aiden ate. He cleaned the kitchen when dishes piled too high. He sat beside him on the couch when nights grew too heavy. He didn't try to fill the emptiness. He just refused to let Aiden fall into it alone. But grief had sharp edges, and sometimes it cut the person closest. One evening, after everyone else had gone home from the memorial, Aiden snapped. "You don't understand what this is like," he shouted, pushing away from Kieran. "You get to leave whenever you want. That's what you do, right? Capture a place, a moment, and then disappear. I can't lose someone else. I can't get attached just for you to walk away." Kieran flinched as if struck. Aiden's breath came jagged, his eyes bright with panic more than anger. "I'm not leaving," Kieran said quietly. "Not unless you tell me to." Aiden shook his head, backing away. "You say that now, but everyone leaves." "I'm not everyone." The room held still. Aiden's shoulders trembled as if he were fighting an invisible current. He looked at Kieran with eyes full of fear, longing, and a lifetime of bracing for abandonment. "I don't know how to trust this," Aiden whispered. "Then trust that I'm here." Kieran stepped closer, voice gentle but unwavering. "And if you still can't believe that, then trust that I'm not giving up on you." Aiden stared at him, something inside him slowly cracking open. Quiet, painful surrender. He didn't apologize with words. He apologized by leaning forward and letting his forehead rest against Kieran's. Their breaths tangled, their fears tangled, their hearts, slowly, tentatively, aligned. When Kieran wrapped his arms around Aiden, Aiden didn't resist this time. The next morning, the world seemed softer. Not fixed, not healed, but bearable. Kieran brewed coffee while Aiden stood on the porch watching the sea. For the first time in weeks, the sunrise didn't feel like something Aiden had no right to enjoy. Kieran leaned against the doorway. "Can I show you something?" Aiden glanced back. "What?" Kieran lifted his camera. "I took this a couple days ago. I didn't want to show you then, but I think you're ready." Aiden hesitated before taking the camera. The photo showed him standing on the pier at dusk, unaware he was being captured. His face was tired, but his eyes held something raw and sincere. The ocean behind him glowed with twilight. He looked vulnerable, human, still here. "It's the moment I realized you're the bravest person I've ever met," Kieran said softly. Aiden swallowed hard. "You're giving this to me? It's yours." Aiden looked at the picture again, and his voice wavered. "I didn't think anyone saw me like this." "I see you," Kieran whispered. "Every version of you." Aiden set the camera down and stepped toward him. This time he wasn't running. This time he was choosing. Their kiss wasn't explosive or desperate. It was slow, trembling, inevitable. A promise shaped by grief and hope and the realization that life could break them and still leave room for something beautiful to grow. Over the next weeks, they rebuilt a rhythm, not perfect, not easy, but real. Kieran's assignment ended, but he didn't leave. Instead, he pitched a new project focusing on coastal communities and long-term stories. His editor approved it. He moved into a small apartment 5 minutes from Aiden. Some evenings they cooked together badly. Some mornings they walked the pier, letting the wind braid their fingers. Some nights Aiden woke from dreams of loss, and Kieran held him until the storm passed. Love didn't fix the pain. It didn't erase the past. But it grew around the cracks like sunlight pushing through broken clouds. Months later, Kieran set up his camera on the same pier where they first met. When Aiden asked what he was doing, Kieran smiled. Capturing the place my life changed. Aiden leaned into him, and the person, already captured. They stood together, the ocean below, the sky above, and something steady, warm, and unbroken between them. Two strangers who collided by accident, held together by choice. Unexpected love, born between the ocean and the sky. And for once, neither of them was afraid to stay. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.